Speed Force, baby. I have been looking forward to this, man. How long have we been talking about doing this?
Oh man, about a month now,
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah, this is exciting because we were just talking about before we went on air. I didn't even get on TikTok to get followers or anything like that. Like I was just doing it to kind of blow off some steam, and then it started like picking up a little bit, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I haven't had a chance to really get to know any of the other creators on this app, so I was like, okay, I need to do a podcast where I can talk to them. And you were literally the first. You were the first person I followed on this app, and I don't think you realize how big you actually are. I told you this in a message one time, but the only two times that I've been stopped in public were when it was at the grocery store both times, and both of them well, how'd you see it? They're like, yeah, the Speed Force guy stitched the video. I'm like,
Oh man,
that's literally
I've never
both
been
times.
stopped. That's funny.
Oh, you will. I
Well, the masks, also people can't see.
yeah.
But that's funny that you got recognized and because of my videos.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, like, to be in like what you do, you cover like a specific character within a specific niche, and to build that up as much as you have, man. I've worked in social media for like 10 years. That's impressive. Like that is super impressive.
Yeah, I'd like to think of it as more of a general basis of speedsters entailed mostly about the Speed Force. So think of me more of a conduit, if you will, for the Speed Force, that rather than just the Flash. Yeah, the Flash happens to be my favorite hero, but like there are so many other speedsters out there. It's ridiculous.
So
I'm not considering Quicksilver one though.
I've actually, I'll ask that now because I actually had a question about that. So anytime I do a Flash video, I always get just like seems like hundreds of comments where people are just like, and people think Quicksilver can beat him. And I have yet to see a comment where somebody says, yeah, Quicksilver is better than this. Is this a real thing where there are real people on TikTok that think Quicksilver could do anything better than Flash?
I'll tell you what, if you've got trolls in your comments, then you're making waves and you're doing the right thing, apparently.
Right.
When it comes to Quicksilver being anywhere near the speeds that the Flash has gone, it is not at all. He doesn't have anything to protect him. He's a mutant. So his genealogy doesn't allow him to access those speeds like the Flash. Not to mention, he's only gone just over the speed of sound, maybe cracked the speed of light, but the Flash himself has gone 13 trillion times the speed of light. It doesn't even scratch the surface.
So do you get a lot of people like that in your comments? Like, I guess
there's always somebody. And it's okay. I just direct them to the evidence.
The literal, and that's my thing. There's literal source material on this. Like the crossover literally happened, and Flash literally ran circles around him. That's why. That's why when people say Quicksilver, I'm like, who is ignoring the source material on this?
Right, Quasar number 17.
Yeah,
where they all raced.
Yeah, that was what was that? Was that post-crisis? Or what? Well, not crisis.
Yes, that was post-crisis because Barry Allen had disappeared during Crisis and then wound up on the Marvel Universe, and Quasar number 17 embraced everybody and beat him. But he went under the name Buried Alien, wearing shreds of his old suit and long blonde hair. It was him. Come on.
Yeah.
Just obliterated all their speedsters.
Yeah, what do you think about Marvel in general? I know you're a Flash guy, but where do you kind of land on Marvel? Are there any characters that just really intrigue you? Do you enjoy like the MCU, the shows? Where do you stand on that?
Well, I do enjoy, especially what Kevin Feige has done with the cinematic universe, turned low-level heroes into mainstream household names now. And there's a lot of great characters that have been highlighted lately. And I really appreciate that as a comic book fan. Even if I am more of a DC fan, I can still appreciate a good superhero and a good villain for that matter, and a great story for that. They get a little wackadoots with their shows, but I still stick along, and I'm here for the Marvel ride. But I've always been more of a DC fan. They've got to pick it up, cinematically, but like everywhere else they thrive, and that's what people don't understand. They're only relating it to, the movies.
Right. So if
disappointing,
So if TikTok, let's say whoever owns TikTok comes to you and be like, hey man, we really need you to do a Marvel character where you just dedicate all your time to Marvel, one Marvel character like you're doing to the Flash, who do you pick?
Doctor Strange.
Oh, great answer. Okay.
Yeah, I really like his skill set. Did you know that? Yeah, it's a quick little caveat, but Barry Allen actually doesn't believe in magic because he's so scientifically, inept to find a rhyme or reason as opposed to relying on it being magic. But I digress. Doctor Strange, I resonate with him, especially from the movie, because I had damaged my hand, so I feel half of it. And I can only imagine how Stephen Strange feels like, or doesn't feel his hands with the damage that he did to them. And I don't know, because I haven't followed the comics as I probably should, liking the character as far as that goes. But I can't imagine that he can feel his hands with the amount of damage that he did in the movie to him. And I could just I could relate, and he overcame it, and it was very inspiring. And I like his attitude about things. He's very precise. He's very, knowledgeable. I mean, he can be kind of a jerk from time to time, but
I like that.
That's who I would pick.
I like that. That's a great answer. I wasn't expecting it. I didn't know who I was expecting, but I've always kind of wondered if you could do that. The Doctor Strange makes a lot of sense. I can totally see you getting into Doctor Strange lore. Why did you get on TikTok? What was the?
Oh boy, I don't know. I was bored, and like you, I just wanted to distress because I'm a stay-at-home dad, and I need to fill my time with non-toxic type of people and things. And I found this wonderful community here, and it was filled with awesome people that I get to talk comic books with. Oh my God, I love it. It's so fantastic. And I get to learn about a bunch of other characters that I didn't know things about, which is awesome. I mean, I only mainly know about one group of people, and I know other things, little tidbits here and there, but the most my knowledge base is involving with the Speed Force and so on and so forth. And to come here and learn all the wonderful things about all these great characters, see their depth, and meet all these wonderful people, and build a community. It's been a whirlwind. I can't believe it. After the past year, it's been amazing.
So when did you officially get on TikTok? Like, do you remember the start date?
I think it was February of 2020.
Oh, okay. That's so you've built that up. You've built that up that quick.
Wait, hold on. Time. It was either February of 2020 or February 2019.
Either way,
I don't feel like it was that quick, but you've definitely surpassed me and then some in a shorter amount of time.
I don't know what to make of this, man. I had no idea that me talking about comic books would be anything worth watching. It's weird.
I mean, it shows that you know what you're talking about too, which is very, endearing, and it's somebody that they can go to with questions, and you come, consistent as far as that goes, which is also very comforting when you're expecting something from a certain person.
Yeah, I don't think I know as much about comic book as what people think. I'm just really good at research, which is part of it.
And see, that's the thing too.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it has to do with research, but it's the passion that you convey in what you're talking about.
That's the big thing. That's when I've had a couple creators message me and be like, "Hey, how are you getting this many views?" And the only answer I have for them, the only thing that I'm doing different from them, is just passion, and really
Absolutely.
trying my best to get into it and persuade that passion. And that's I agree with you there, because especially nowadays, and I think that's maybe why both of us are doing well on TikTok right now, is because there's just not a lot of passion in the world.
Yeah,
we kind of 2020 kind of took a lot of that away, and being able to see
people are wrapped up in the versus battles, or who's better on top of this, and then fans jump on that wagon and wound up doing something rash like reporting or whatever just because it doesn't fit their narrative. And it's disheartening. We're here trying to share our passions. We're not here to fight. We're not here to debate. We're here to, share facts about the mysteries and fantasies of superheroes and villains.
Right. It feels like, and I'm sure you get the same too, it feels like half of the comments are people wanting versus battles.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't get over it. It's too funny. Again, if you've got trolls, then you're doing something right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, listen, there are a lot of people on the app that just dedicate their whole channel to versus battle, and they do a good job. I mean, you really have to know your stuff to be able to do that. So I give them credit in the world, but it always comes back to me when these versus battles pop up. It's like, why would they be fighting? Like, a lot of it it doesn't make sense to me from a character standpoint that they would be fighting each other.
Right. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was done.
I was going to say, I mean, when it really comes down to the writers and what they want to do, because, for instance, everybody knows that Batman is the greatest detective in the world, so on and so forth, and blah, blah, blah. But did you know that Batman, Bruce Wayne, once stated that Barry Allen might be a better detective than him? That was stated in the comics. However, that was stated in a Flash comic, so nobody's going to take validity from that if it wasn't stated in a Batman comic.
Right.
So it's all what the writers want to do and their outcome as far as that goes. It's just how creative can they make it to interest the masses.
Where do you stand on Batman? Because it feels like there's no middle ground on TikTok. It's either like, I love Batman, or this dude is the worst.
I don't know. Batman over Superman, because Superman's too much for me.
Yeah, he's a lot.
Yeah. But Batman is just slightly overrated. To the point where if I go to Target, all I see are Batman toys.
Yeah.
It's really annoying, and I don't want that. I want some Flash toys.
Yeah.
But it's like store after store after store after store seeing Batman stuff. I digress on that regard. He doesn't have any powers. Yes, he's got all this money, get all these gadgets. He's really smart. He can fight really well, and that's cool. And he's built this persona of fear in his things. And, being who I am and who I like, I'm not looking. I like hope. See, my secondary, my favorite Flash character, if you will, is Blue Lantern Flash.
Oh,
because he encompasses one of the more powerful weapons in the DC multiverse, and super speed to boot. So that's why I feel like, my front in passion for heroes and such is derived from hope versus fear, how Batman is portrayed.
I like that. Yeah, and the interesting thing about Batman for me is, especially because TikTok's a lot younger audience, they don't realize that when Batman first came out, like, he was brutal. Like this
killed people.
Yeah, literally his first the only TikTok video that I've had removed was literally just me recapping his first appearance, like from like 1938. I'm like, good God, like, and that's the one that TikTok had an issue with, which I'm not even blaming them. I totally get it, but even in his first appearance in Detective Comics, he literally threw a guy off a building. And then in his first appearance in Batman issue 1, he literally hung a mentally handicapped person from a moving helicopter.
Oh my God.
Like, this.
Didn't he shoot somebody too in the first issue with a gun?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He used guns every now and then. And I listen, I understand why they retconned the character, but it's part of his lore. And people tend to want to ignore that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, see, the problem with having a hero that kills is that when you kill all your villains, then you've got nobody to fight.
That's very
true.
So
there's no coming back for the next issue. Oh, that guy's dead. Let's move on to the next one. Let's kill him. And, if you killed the Joker, then that's a big part of Batman and who he is and how he developed as a character. It's just, Batman can't kill in that regard, but he has. So people don't see that he just can't, because his existence would be unnecessary otherwise.
You're right.
Along with
that's a good way to look at it. That's a good way to look at it. If he killed
I
them,
mean,
this would be
why does
unnecessary.
the
Oh,
Flash
wow.
have rogues? Because he doesn't kill.
I like that. I've never really thought about it from that dynamic. That is so why Flash for you? What was it that drew you into the Flash?
I just wanted to go fast. No, it was the very first comic that I ever got, and like I read to boot, and I just wanted to go fast. I was never a fast runner. I'm not a fast runner by any means. And like I said, my first comic book really set the bar.
You have probably out of all the stories I heard about the first comic book they've read, you probably have the best. You probably
issue
have the best.
139 of the Flash.
Yeah.
The first appearance of Eobard Thawne, Reverse Flash. Yeah.
He is would you consider him an underrated villain or
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, completely. He is actually DC wide my favorite villain. Not just because he's a speedster, but because he's so intelligent. He was actually designed to be genetically perfect at birth with the good looks, the super smart. So he's really super smart, other than having super speed to boot. So
yeah, it's so funny you say that because I literally yesterday I tried writing a longer video about the origin of the Reverse Flash. And it got too confusing to the point where I'm just gonna have to try it again at another point. But his origin is so incredibly beautifully psychotic in a way to where he was genetically engineered to be smart. He was genetically engineered to look a certain way, and then he was so socially awkward that his parents had gave him a brother, and he ended up, or a future version of Reverse Flash ended up going back in time, killing his brother so that he could focus on his studies. And then he did that
he was
again.
Annoying.
Yeah, he did that again and again. He did it with his parents. He did it with the professor at the Flash Museum. It is such a batshit crazy origin.
Absolutely. And you notice the one thing about the negative speed force is that it allows its speedsters to change things in time and not it cause this butterfly effect that causes, say, like a flashpoint, for instance. It's very localized, and makes him a paradox. He's separate from time and space, but still able to manipulate it. And it's mind-blowing.
I think that's one of his best features, and I think that's what makes him such a challenge for Barry Allen, is the fact that anything that he does in space-time, it's permanent. It doesn't really fix anything. He's able to kind of work through time without it actually affecting him. And that's obviously something that Barry can't do. So being able to see that dynamic, I love it. I agree with you. I think Reverse Flash, I think there's an argument to be made that he's the best villain in DC, period. Even outside of the Joker.
As far as that goes, and he took on the whole Justice League at one time.
Crushed him. Just wiped the floor with him.
Yeah. And he has zero remorse. And, he's oh, sorry, excuse me. He's just fantastic. He's, a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk to you about the CW show, because I get a lot of questions about that. So as a diehard fan,
as a disclaimer, I'm sorry.
No, go for
get into it. I'm actually 3 episodes. Well, no, I'm not 2 episodes behind because I didn't have internet. So all the things in dealing with Nora and Bart, I'm not up to snuff with.
Okay. All right, well, we'll avoid that. I kind of want to avoid this season too, just for spoiler, because I actually haven't watched this season. So what was I have these questions written down here, and I'm just screwing with them here. All right, so as a diehard fan of the comics, in your perspective, what has the CW done right, and what have they done wrong with the Flash show?
Okay, so first and foremost, I don't think of it as doing it right or wrong. I just think of it as a different interpretation, a different universe altogether, so that it's separate from the comics. Because if it was just like the comics, we would know exactly what was going to happen. And I don't want that. I want a different interpretation. So there's a 3-book series based off of the CW Flash show that's titled, what was it? Was it Hocus Pocus, Johnny Quick, and these 3 different stories that were a separate timeline from even the show, but based off of the show. and then they relate back to it, and it gets kind of real in a moment. But as far as what they've done right and wrong, they've obviously had to nerf the Flash and most of its characters based off of the capabilities and special effects that they are able to pay for. People don't realize that they've got a budget to uphold, and they can't go over it. It can't be movie quality stuff here. The story, some of the writing could use work, like Iris's character. I love Candace Payne. She's fantastic. And I think she's very pinnacle to Barry Allen's story, because that's his ground, that's his end game. And making her a speedster, because I was told that was what's going to happen, is that they're going to make her a speedster again. Right. We'll give her some, life to the character and to the show, and her presence in the show. As far as like major things, major outcomes, they're still getting to that, like in the comic books. But it's the way that they're going about it that some people don't like. Like, for instance, there is no Team Flash in the comic books. There's no Cisco Ramon with the Flash. There is a Cisco Ramon vibe, but they're not friends. Killer Frost, Caitlin Snow, she's always Killer Frost, and she's not friends with the Flash. As a matter of fact, she spent time with the Suicide Squad for a while. There's no Harrison Wells. There's no Joe West, unfortunately. There's not even Time Wraiths. Wait, so they took a lot of...
There's no Joe West?
No,
I didn't know that. I thought Joe West was in the but you say that. Okay, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but that kind of clicked in my head. I'm like, yeah, you're right, there isn't.
Yeah, he's such a staple in the show, and so was Wells as far as that goes.
Yeah,
and they're fantastic characters. So that's why I think of the show as a whole separate universe, and I try not to relate it to the comics because, again, like I said, they can't do a lot of the feats that the Flash comic book has represented them to do as far as that goes because of their limitations.
Right. So you mentioned the Team Flash dynamic. I know there was a lot of controversy around the line "We Are Flash" that came from Iris. In your opinion, because I've thought about this, and I really don't have an opinion on it. If any other character, like say Cisco, had said that line, do you think it would have been controversial still?
I think it would have been far more well received because, like I said, Iris's character gets, so much hate for being, a normal person, but she's a great detective and a good, reporter as far as that goes too. And being that element on Team Flash is very helpful. Now that line was in poor taste because it's the only person that doesn't have powers in the show, and it's like she's claiming stakes to something that she doesn't have. However, like she's become a speedster at one point. People just don't like her, and I think that's personified when that happened. But if Cisco had said it, I think it would have been a little bit more well received, even though he's not the Flash, but he had powers. Now, don't get me started on Cisco. That was a disappointment, full circle.
What happened? Why was that a disappointment? Like I said, I haven't watched the most recent season, so that's kind of where I left off.
Okay, well,
I know
starting from the get-go, season 1 and everything, he's like our resident comic book nerd. He's always wearing a graphic tee of some superhero or what have you. You would think that this guy would be the most excited about having powers if possible. And then once he got him, he was scared, and that's totally understandable. And then I think the way that it affected him is obviously negative, and it made him resent his abilities, and then he gave them up willingly, and then he got them back during Crisis, and then he gave them up again, and now he's using gloves to do the thing that he used to do with powers. So it's very, wishy-washy and disappointing for me. As far as that goes, because I really liked him as a character, and he just, he gave it up only to mechanically do it.
I'm curious about what you think is the best part of the show. Mine is 100%, without a doubt, Tom Cavanaugh. I love Tom Cavanaugh. I think he's just one of the most underrated actors out there. I remember watching Tom Cavanaugh in, oh gosh, what was it? It was a movie from the early 2000s. It was a serious movie. It was about a school shooter. It was called Bang Bang You're Dead. And that was the first time I saw him. And I remember watching that and being like, wow, this guy has range. This is fantastic. And then to see him come on the show, I remember when they casted him in The Flash, I was like, oh, this is going to be amazing. He's playing a doctor. And I wasn't as well versed at the time on Flash. So the play where he was Eobard Thawne, that blew me away, man. I think I would put Flash season 1 up there as far as best seasons with any other superhero TV show.
I couldn't agree with you more. Season 1 was my favorite. Episode 1, to be more specific, because we got the origin, we got the first suit, we got the first villain, we got a lot of the major firsts right in the first episode. We even got a small crossover with Green Arrow, and
you're right,
a name drop, saving people in a flash. It was the culmination of everything that I was looking for in a Flash show at the time. I look back on it, and there's some cheeky parts here and there with the writing, and you could tell that the actors aren't quite they're not quite comfortable, but of course, I really liked Tom Cavanaugh. To get back on, originally what you were talking about, I love Tom Cavanaugh. He's a great actor. His range is bonkers. For him to change up every season who he is,
it's incredible.
And yeah, it's crazy. It's awesome. I love it. And he's became a staple in the show, just like Joe West. But I think we were, now that he's left the show, spoiler alert, sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's sad that he's left the show as far as that goes, but we gotta respect that he wants to go off and do other things. Right. I would say my favorite hero, just because I'm the Flash fan, but I've also liked his development, is Grant Gustin. He's had such great character development throughout the seasons, and even up till now, he's still so hopeful and very understanding, very intelligent. They don't take advantage of the attosecond speed thinking like they should, except for in one episode or two. But I digress. But he's always been like my favorite, just because I like his story. I like the writing they're doing with Barry as far as that goes.
Are there any characters that they introduced to the show that you were surprised you liked, or any that you thought you would like but didn't really sell?
I didn't like Cicada.
I agree. Yeah, I love the actor.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Great. What was it? Oz from American Pie.
Yeah. Well, they completely, they had a room full of, scientists, and it took all season for them to figure out how to trap this guy and neutralize him. And it was mainly all about the dagger. And it was just disappointing. Coming from having a lot of speedster villains and stuff, and the Thinker, to this guy, a low level, type of villain. I'm disappointed they didn't incorporate Captain Boomerang. They made him more of a Arrow character, and they only had a cameo of his Boomerang, and that was it. But he's a notorious Flash villain as far as that goes. And they made King Shark ridiculous. I love the graphics they did with him. Gorilla Grodd. They haven't explored Gorilla Grodd getting the Speed Force enough. Now they did when they fused together.
Wait, what do you mean by getting the Speed Force? Was there a point where Gorilla Grodd got access to this and manipulated it?
As a matter of fact, in the secrets of the Speed Force in the comic books, the secrets of the Speed Force were within Gorilla City. And that's where he was able to unlock a Force Quest, which, he then figured out that there are, 3 other forces, the Strength Force, the Sage Force, and the Still Force. And
I had no idea those even existed.
Yeah.
The Strength Force, and what was the other one?
There's the Speed Force, the Strength Force, the Sage Force, which is illusions in the mind, and then the still force, which is Turtle and kind of what Zoom does. Although what Zoom does is he manipulates time only relative to himself. So he appears to look like he's moving fast, but when he's just altering teeny tiny microseconds of time, he's manipulating. And it appears, I don't know why he's got lightning. That was never really fully explained in the comics as far as that goes. But yeah, there's other forces. I think there's 7 in all.
7? Oh my God! Like I was only aware of 1. God, I'm gonna have to read up on this. Where did you say this was?
Well, in the recent season of The Flash, they talked about some of the forces. And they do it really kind of weird with mom and dad, and it's really, that part's weird. So, brace yourself for that. But in the recent rebirth run of The Flash, they tackle the forces and introduce, some characters that are avatars for it, like Forza that we see in the show. There's Steadfast for the Still Force, and then Barry is the avatar, if you will, for the Speed Force. And
okay.
Yeah. And as far as the Sage Force, it's Psych. One of the mods. Did you know that the Trickster actually had control over the Sage Force and giving him the ability to manipulate illusions? And he actually made the Flash think that he was a double amputee and had no legs. I saw that picture. I was like, what?
Whoa, that's deep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really messed with my mind. Yeah.
One of the villains that, and I'm trying to remember, I believe they did do at least an episode with him, but I've always thought he's one of the most underrated comic book villains there are, and that's Mirror Master. Did they ever incorporate, because the last season that I watched, they were still stuck in this mirror world thing, and I didn't really get where they were going with that. Did they ever incorporate Mirror Master into that at all?
Well, Mirror Master's always been a part of the Rogues Gallery for the Flash, and his ability is more derived towards around his gun and the ability to, manipulate the Mirrorverse,
right,
with the gun, and not that he's got actual abilities. But of course, I could be wrong. I'm not 100% on that. And I know that they had 2 different Mirror Masters in the show. They had what's his name? Oh God,
I can't remember
the gentleman. That was with Top. And then they had what's her name?
No, I know exactly what you're talking. I know that, like, I know these character names, but I can't think. I'm so terrible with getting their actual real names. It's just too much material. There's no way you can possibly sit around and memorize all of that. But I've always wondered about Mirror Master. Like, if I was doing a Flash movie, I'd be curious if I would think that would be one of the characters that I'd at least really want to explore.
Man, I would do a Rogues Gallery versus the Flash. It would set up with a whole heist situation, because honestly, who I would want is the Rogues on my team, because you've got Captain Cold. He's going to be able to have a plan down to the T. You've got Heat Wave, which, he's your wild card. He's the one that, will burn the place down if you need him to. You got Trickster. He's your Joker. He's the one that's going to throw, everything up in the air. All the cards are going up in the air, and it's going to be havoc at that point. Then you got Mirror Master. He's going to have your escape. You can get into the Mirrorverse and wind up in a different country if you want, in that regard, because you're traveling through the mirrors. And then Top, disorient everybody so you can get away. I think that would be a good start. That's who I would want to rob a bank with, if you will.
Yeah, the Flash, the show did a really good job of putting the whole Rogues Gallery kind of front and center, because Flash has some of the best villains in comic books, and I don't think it's really ever explored that much. I don't know why. Because there's just so many, even taking Reverse Flash out of the equation. Now what they're doing in the comics with introducing Godspeed, which that's another one I got a question for. Why do people not like Godspeed on the show?
Well, because they think on the show?
Yeah.
Well, because they don't know enough about him. or they are new comic book readers and they're expecting a certain thing based off of that. Because the way he's portrayed on the show is, I'm not even quite sure what's going on, mainly because I'm behind 2 episodes.
Yeah.
But how he is in the comics is very different from what I've noticed. But yeah, I think that even comic book readers even with the name Godspeed,
such a cool
name. It holds a level of expectation, like he should be the best. But in reality, DC has published a, who's fastest, and he's like number 9 on the list, all the way down the list, and he's really fast. I would put him below Zoom as far as that goes. So go Wally, Barry, Reverse Flash, Zoom, and then Godspeed.
Okay.
And I say that because he's able to physically duplicate himself, not just a speed mirage, but actually physically be able to be in 2 places at once. The only problem with it is that it diminishes his speed exponentially, leaving him vulnerable to attacks. And that's why Barry was able to defeat him.
Oh, okay. Is that also why in the comic? Because I know in his origin story, after he got struck by the Speed Force storm, and then he at one point he went back and because he said that August Hart said that Godspeed had hurt him, like injured him, and then it turned out to be him. So I'm assuming either it was a duplicate that did it or not. But besides the point, is that why he like steals the speed from other speedsters, like should replenish it?
Well, it's not that he's losing it. It's that he wants to be the fastest, and it's because he wants to deal out as a detective the justice that needs to be done. He's the vigilante. I want to kill my villain type of hero, but he's not a hero. He's worked with Barry and then inevitably double-crossed at the end. So he's sketchy at best when it comes to being considered, but people just consider him the full-on villain as far as that goes. But he's helped the Flash multiple times in the comic books to take down Gorilla Grodd, who had the Speed Force at one point. And again, recently in the Rebirth run, right before he died to the hands of Reverse Flash, he was working with Barry and the Reverse Flash to take down, I believe it was a Parallax version of, I don't know. I'm a little bit behind in the comments still.
I just remember Parallax from the Green Lantern movie.
Yeah, right. It's not that version. It's a different version completely.
Yeah.
But yeah, they shouldn't have done that.
I mean, I understand where they were going with that in the Green Lantern. I like the Green Lantern movie. I'm one of those weird people.
I thought it was fun.
I did too.
Green Lantern is my second DC favorite hero as far as that goes.
Yeah, I thought Ryan Reynolds was great, but you know who really stole the show for me was Mark Strong as Sinestro. Like, I cannot believe they did not, or at least try to incorporate that more into the story instead of just a post-credit scene.
Or at
he was
least made
fantastic.
a second movie with him as Sinestro, part of the Lantern Corps, or Sinestro Corps.
Yeah, I wonder. I would be curious to know what their plans were for that sequel. It would have had to have been Sinestro, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they had at the end of the movie, where he took on the Yellow Lantern ring because he wanted to fight on their level.
Yeah. What do you are you excited at all for the Green Lantern show coming out on HBO Max?
I am very excited. For a while I had a Lantern Corps Life channel, and
that's awesome.
I kind of fell off of it because I know some things about Green Lantern and stuff, but there's so much information involving other Lantern Corps that it's overwhelming, and I need to focus on Speed Force as far as that goes.
Right.
Go where I'm strong. But Green Lantern is definitely fantastic. Hal Jordan was always my favorite, even after he went banana sandwich and killed everyone.
Yeah, that's right.
Took all the rings.
Yeah, one of my favorite things I remember learning about the Green Lantern was that the only reason that Abin Sur's ring chose Hal Jordan is because he was actually the closest one to him at that point. It was Guy Gardner was another one who they would have gone to, but also people don't Dick Grayson was the one that almost got picked as the Lantern. Yeah, so I love that dynamic. I'd love to see them play into that a little bit in the series. I know they're going to be focusing on Jon Stewart. I imagine Hal Jordan's going to be in it as well. My favorite Lantern is Jessica Cruz. I love Jessica Cruz.
She's awesome. She embodies what it means to be a millennial these days.
You're right. Yeah, she's been through the ringer. She has a very traumatic past. She really suffered with anxiety disorders, and then the ring like forced itself onto her to take it.
She had a real difficult time with making constructs for a long time in the comics. I remember reading that during the Rebirth run, and then she would be the ace in the hole. What got me was Simon Baz always wore a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Yeah, if you're the Green Lantern, I don't think you really need a gun, bud.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe he had his reasons, but I agree. Simon's another good character too. I do like him. I agree with you. I remember always seeing that gun as being like, I don't know.
They've addressed it a few times in the comics. He's like, it's always my backup,
Backup from, dude. If your ring's not working, you're done. Yeah, backup. Screw backup, dude. You don't need backup at that point. You're just done. If you were given the reins to direct a season of the Flash TV show, what direction would you personally want to take it in?
Ooh, well, I would probably make the big bad or bads a whole devotion to the Rogues Gallery in this huge event that was going to transpire in the lead up to it, and really dive into who the Rogues Gallery characters are and their backstories and how Barry's going to appeal to him. So, he doesn't want to kill these people. He wants to rehabilitate them, and even in the comics, he's constantly trying to appeal to these people. That's what people don't understand is, that's how the Flash is. Yeah. He's going to quick and do things, but he's always trying to diffuse the situation. So I would make a whole season devoted to the Rogues Gallery.
Are you surprised they haven't done that yet?
I'm a little disappointed that they haven't done that, and I'm kind of surprised in it, but they've gotten some characters from the Rogues Gallery for a couple of episodes here and there, but not even all the rogues. And then they had an all-female kind of rogues situation. So I want the core rogues to take over more than a couple of episodes. You got Trickster, Captain Cold, Heat Wave, Mirror Master, Top, Weather Wizard, Pied Piper, Gorilla Grodd maybe, and the Reverse Flash were part of the Rogues at one time or another too. So
I agree because it's like you said, there are when they introduced Cicada again, love the actor, the character, whatever. It just felt like there's no way he should struggle for an entire season with that. But when you just talked about introducing the Rogues Gallery, all of them, the first thought that comes to my head after hearing that is, especially after, Cisco, I'm assuming he bounced. I heard he was going to. Wells, he's out of the picture now. How in the world does Barry beat the Rogues Gallery at that point? That has to be the biggest challenge that he will have ever faced on the show. And I really want to see him challenged more. I think it's good because Grant Gustin, like you said, he does a really good job of portraying that.
But they have to do it in a way within their limits, like we said, just because they're not able to highlight his major feats, like being able to, go to every house and defuse a bomb that's at 100 houses because the Trickster, mailed or at Christmas time gave a bunch of presents to a bunch of kids, and being able to do that episode specifically, they didn't have to address him running to each house and diffusing it and so on and so forth. They were able to use some kind of wacky magnet technology. That was the answer. I did though recently involving the Flash clearing out a football stadium's worth of fans in just a couple of seconds. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So highlighting, feats like that is going to be difficult with the lack of money. And I think that's where their limitations and people are disappointed because, you know, the Flash is up there in the God tiers with Superman and Aquaman and, you know, all these heavy hitters. You know, he should be able to do these amazing things, and he can in the comic books, but in the show, it's very difficult to portray that.
Right. And one of the reasons is, and I think I talked about this in a video too, is this CW is for a completely different audience. Like CW's audience is 16 to 30-year-olds, primarily female. And I'm not saying that I'm not making any judgments there, but that's where all their shows, that's what they target.
Their demographic they're going for. Huh?
Yeah, that's what the writers are aiming for. That's what they're told to do. That's what they're hired to do is, you know, write a show about the Flash. Here's going to be your audience. Make it work. And I don't think the writers get enough credit for all of this stuff because not only are they working within a budget, but you're trying to tell a story about one of the most miraculous superheroes ever. And the only way to make that happen is with a large budget. So you really have to write these characters in depth. And comic books in general, I think the writers are just incredibly underrated.
They're always trying to work within their means.
Yeah. What are your expectations for the Flash movie?
Well, for one, to stop being referenced as a Flashpoint movie and it be more considered a multiversal, because we know that's where they're headed with Michael Keaton Batman and Ben Affleck Batman. Now, they may be sticking to the alteration of the whole DC universe, just like Flashpoint. Now, Flashpoint in the comic books isn't just indicative to that one instance where he saved his mother. There a multitude of different situations throughout the timeline, if altered, will completely change the natural order of things, how stated in the comics. Now, as far as what they're going to do with the movie, I've got high expectations because I think that Ezra Miller's adaptation of The Flash is very interesting. I want to see more of it. And I love how they highlighted him in the Zack Snyder cut as far as that goes. And it got me far more excited for the Flash movie and what they're going to do with it. I don't know much about Muschietti's movies as far as that goes. But I think they're going to stick to the major theme of what Zack Snyder was going with it, with the change of the multiverse and, you know, rebooting, if you will, the DCEU as we know it.
Yeah, it's interesting because one of the things that always confused me, I definitely love some input on this, when everybody was talking about resetting the DCEU using Flashpoint. From what I remember in the comics and then the animated movie, like the actual characters didn't necessarily change. Like it didn't make sense to me that when he goes back in time, saves his mother, whatever. But then when he goes back to the reality he's originally from, all of a sudden all the actors and stuff are supposed to change. They're all supposed to look different. I didn't understand that.
Well,
it's so hard to explain. It's just
totally. Time travel and altering time is, even if you fix it, is always a crapshoot because, as they explained it in the show, like when they broke the cup and a corner of it fell out, and then you put it back, it's never quite the same as it was before. So it can't be what it once was because there's a crack in it now, and it never fits the way it should be. As far as changing actors, that's just, you know, something that they're taking, you know, liberties on and just chalking it off to the reboot or Flashpoint. It was Flashpoint. You know, DC is notorious in the comics, if you've noticed, for doing reboots, like annually almost. Not every year, but like and once they reach a certain point where it's gotten a little too crazy, like death metal in the comics, then they're all like, okay, gotta stop it here and start over. That's what they did with Flashpoint. That's what they did with Crisis on Infinite Earths. You know, all these they lead up to these major monumental things, and then they go back down to, you know, 1 or 0. And that's fine. And then you get invested again, and then it builds, and then people are like, oh, that was retconned, or, you know, so on and so forth. It all matters. It's all canon. It all happened. It just happened in a different universe. So, yeah.
Time travel. I love the idea of time travel, even outside of comics, all the paradoxes and things like that.
The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, it really is. And then when you actually start looking at the physics of it and stuff like that, you realize that like when astronauts are in space, like above Earth, if they were happen to go light speed around the Earth for like 5 years, when they came back to Earth, then it would be like 50 years in the future. So we know that time travel is possible. We just don't have the ability to accomplish it.
Right.
And I find that fascinating. And I think that's why Barry Allen and Wally West are two of the most fascinating characters in comic books.
The God tier type of abilities, and they're brought down to, these expectations.
Yeah. What was your opinion of the Flash in Whedon's cut compared to the Snyder cut?
Joss Whedon ruined the Justice League, and I think it was a conspiracy.
Really?
Completely, 100% to ruin it. He made it brighter. He made it an Avengers movie.
You're right. He kind of did.
And that's not what it was leading up to, and it shouldn't have. And I don't.
It was the thing with Joss Whedon that always threw me off, and it took me completely out of the movie, is how much he sexualized his character, but not actually just coming out and saying it. It's very subtle. Like the Flash falling under Wonder Woman. It just takes you out, because like even the Flash's reaction there, and I know that's not on Ezra. He's doing what he's told to do, the actors. But that was just, it was unnecessary. You're right. It was completely unnecessary. It didn't add anything to the movie whatsoever. And it was completely out of character for Ezra, for him to just pop up, oh gosh, I didn't mean to do that. Like in the middle of fighting Steppenwolf, like that's how you're going to react? No, you're going to get up immediately and go back into the fight. It made no sense. It was very clear what he was trying to do. He was trying to go for that easy sexualized laugh, and it just didn't land at all.
And it's not where DC is in general as far as that goes. It seems darker and more brooding as far as, but in that it makes it more realistic, and like it's being taken serious at that point, like this crap could actually happen if there were these type of people here. And it gives you that feel. And then when you add some dick jokes and stuff, and
it's not necessary. It's completely not necessary. And it's really a shame that Zack Snyder is not going to get to see his vision all the way through. I think they're doing some comic books on it though, if I remember.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think they are. But he had such a good. If you go, have you read like what his plot was going to be for the next couple movies?
Yeah. Well, loosely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you really only mentioned it loosely, but it's a really good story. It's not like, it was never meant to be anything like the MCU, where it's just continuously goes on and on and on and on. Like it was supposed to be like a mini series of these characters, and it was going to be completely different. Like it would have ended after that final Justice League movie, but it also would have at the same time, it would have given the character of the Flash a lot of time to evolve over the course of those movies. Absolutely. And that's and you'll become to appreciate some of the things that you saw him do, like go back in time in Batman v Superman and things like that. You appreciate it more, because it was an interesting take to evolve the character, show the character's powers, and then evolve him afterwards. And I thought it was brilliant. I'm excited to see what they do with this Flash movie. Were you a Keaton fan? Like, who is your Batman?
Oh my God! Yes,
is he your Batman?
A Michael Keaton fan, absolutely. I actually just recently got Batman 1 and Batman Returns on VHS, and just recently watched them
on VHS. Oh yes. Man, how old are we?
Oh my God!
Dude, we still have VHSs. Oh, I love it though. Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with Keaton's character, because I never in a million years would I have thought, oh yeah, Michael Keaton's going to come back and play Batman. Like, do you think they go eventually now the Batman Beyond route? Now, I mean, God, they have to, right? They have to.
Absolutely. I mean, they're setting it up that way, which would be really fun. Give it a kind of a different feel altogether. I hope that they don't like phase out some of our fan favorite, Superman, or if they're going to make him, I don't know, I don't know. I don't want them to nerf characters or phase out some characters that are, pinnacle to the Justice League name as far as that goes.
Right. I totally agree with this. I'm gonna let you out of here in 1 second, but I do have a flash question. People are coming to my Q&A asking these questions. I figured I'll just get your opinion on it and share it with them. I'm trying to find who it is. No, the question was. The question was, what comics do you recommend for people wanting to get into Flash? Where do you recommend they start, and where do you recommend they go?
Honestly, when people tell me what comics should I read, where should I start, I'm like, wherever you want. That's the magic of comic books and the fantasy world of it. But if you really want to go at the beginning of a story, go to a beginning of a run. For instance, the beginning of the New 52 run is a very interesting story leading up. And then they, completely change it with Flashpoint. Or no, Flashpoint caused New 52. And then it was something else that caused Rebirth. And that was the return of Wally West. Yeah, look, start at the beginning of a run and get to know that story, or start wherever you want. That's the great thing about comic books. That's what I tell people. Start wherever you want.
I love that. And people, because I understand from the outside looking in, you see all this cool comic content on TikTok and whatnot, and it's intimidating. It's intimidating. Know that there's 80 years now of Marvel and DC lore with infinite amount of characters. It seems it's incredibly intimidating. That's I always try and get back, and I know you do too. That's why people love you, is because you always do try and get back to people about where to start and things like that. And that answer that was perfect, man. Start what you want. I love that. Yeah. I hope this dude likes it.
I love comic books, and when it comes to getting to know a new character, I'll just pick up one on that character and get to know, because you're essentially catching yourself off guard and the character, if you will, off guard, and finding out what they're about in a normal situation after they've gotten to know the character, after the writers have gotten comfortable with the character. So you're catching them at their best, if you will.
Right. Totally agree. Man, this was so much fun. I really appreciate it.
Right?
This obviously I'm not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. We're gonna do this again sometime soon.
Oh, I love that.
Because I definitely, because we're just getting so much Flash material out there now. It's hard to keep up with, and this is why I love following your account, because it's like I'm reading along and keeping up with the Flash with you, and that's really cool. One of your best aspects, and I think this is one of the reasons for your success on the app, is that anybody who watches you immediately oh, I could be best friends with that guy. Real easy. That dude and I, we could be best friends.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, and it's a lot. Not a lot of people have that ability, and I cannot wait to see where you go with this account, man. Like I said, you were the first person I followed, and if I unfollow everyone, I'm still gonna follow you.
That's the same with you, man. You like I said, you bring a consistency, a quality to your videos, and your knowledge base. Your research skills are unparalleled as far as that goes, and your knowledge about other characters is so much fun, because I'm still learning too about all these other characters. Yeah. And then when you do a video, say about Godspeed or Reverse Flash, something goes off my mind, and I gotta add to it, and I get that spark also. And if somebody talks about a specific character, I try to relate it to the Flash. Well, the Flash just fought this person, and this is what happened, and I get really excited. So we feed off of each other, and I love that dynamic.
Absolutely, so much fun. Man. This is great. All right, we're gonna do this again sometime soon. But for now, man, just keep crushing it, dude. Keep crushing it.
Hey,
man.
you too, brother.
All right, dude. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, you take it easy.